The man who completed the first pass on ESPN's nationwide broadcast to launch things back in 1984, 2-1 Glenn Kozlowski, Jerem Jordan, was Blaine Fowler. He joins the show now. Blaine, yesterday's media day was full of very aggressive commentary, namely from Bronco Mendenhall. We're going to hunt our way into Power 5 inclusion. That was our biggest takeaway from media day, was just they're going after it. What was your biggest takeaway?
Well, I think that was, I guess, not surprising, but that became an early theme yesterday, and we've all been talking about it behind the scenes, but it just kind of put it front and center that, yeah, independence is okay for now. It's better than what the status quo was before, better than being in the conference that they were in, especially from a financial perspective, but that they're not satisfied with that, and that they're doing everything they can to raise the noise level and make sure that if expansion takes place again, that they're at the forefront of that they're the number one pick. And I do believe that they're in that position, and especially in light of the comments that were made coming out of Oklahoma this week, that, hey, this talk of expansion for the Big 12 is not over, and they probably do need 12 teams. And I think BYU being really proactive and just stating, yes, we want to be in a conference. Yes, these are our merits. Yes, this is the financial boon we bring and the fan base that we bring. This is who BYU is. I think it's important that they do that, because I do believe sometime in the not-so-distant future there's going to be expansion talk again, likely in the Big 12, and BYU needs to be in that position where they're the obvious first pick.
I've got a sense of desperation in terms of where BYU fits into this, because I fear that one day, if BYU is not in a Power 5 conference, that it would be tough to be relevant, that BYU doesn't want to go backwards. They want to go forward, but it's hard to be invited. The Big 12 is going to have to choose BYU, and I'm not sure, Blaine, that there's a ton that BYU can do other than, say, winning some big games next year.
Yeah, I mean, their schedule right now is good to keep them in the national perspective right now. I mean, we've talked about the 2015 schedule, and we've also on this show, outlined how crazy good that 2016 schedule is. And right now, BYU has the leverage of ESPN as their television partner, brokering some games. But how long can BYU continue to play all of these big games on the road? What they're having a struggle doing is scheduling quality home opponents, big-time P5 opponents, late in the season. And I don't know if that changes dramatically as we move forward. And so to be able to get a fair and level playing field, to be able to play these big-time teams, but get them in homes on a regular basis and have games in late October and November against quality opponents at home, it doesn't happen without being in a conference. And so that's got to be the next step. And I think it starts with going out and continuing to prove that you belong. And, yeah, they're scheduling these great teams. We look at that schedule in 2016. It doesn't do you any good to play that schedule if you end up 5-7. It doesn't do you any good at all. Then there's a lot of the people that go, see, they don't belong. But if you go out with that kind of schedule and you win 8 or 9 or 10 games, all of a sudden they go, wow, you know what? They would be a nice addition to a league. They're better than the midline of the Big 12, which I believe they are, but they got to go out and prove it. They can't schedule these teams and not win their fair share of games if they want to have national respect.
How many games does BYU have to win in 2015 and maybe 2016 to be nationally relevant, Blaine?
I think that 8 is a watershed mark for these next 2 seasons for people to acknowledge, hey, you know what? 8 games or more with that schedule is a very, very solid program, because they're playing a Pac-12 or Big 12 level schedule the next 2 years. In fact, in 2016, maybe even more. I wouldn't say they're playing an SEC schedule yet, right? But certainly, if you look at the Big 12, there's really good teams in the Big 12, and there's average teams, and there's really bad teams in the Big 12. The schedule that BYU plays this year and next year, especially next year, is every bit as any schedule that they would play as a member of the Big 12. So if you go out and you win 8 games with these schedules or more, and with Taysom Hill as a senior, heck, I think I would be disappointed with anything less than 9 this year. That's my own watermark.
Really, 9?
Because I just think if he stays healthy with the weapons they have offensively, if they can just be solid defensively, I think they have a chance.
Yes.
So I will be – I'm not saying that that's an easy task. I personally would be disappointed if they don't win 9 games. I think nationally, if they win 8, hey, that's a good season. But every year I look for what I think would be a very, very good season or an outstanding season. So to me, 8, okay, that's good. Against that schedule, that's really good, right? 9 is, wow, okay, now I'm taking notice. Now I'm happy. 10 is, that's outstanding. More than 10 is like a dream season.
Yeah.
In either of these next 2 seasons. So that's kind of my own personal, those are my own personal watermarks, right? I think from a national perspective, if people look at the schedule they're playing, respectability and hey, they belong big time is 8 or more in both of these 2 seasons.
When you look at the Big 12, you only had 3 teams win 9 games. When you look at the SEC and Pac-12, if you won 9 games, at least 9 games, you were ranked. Do you think that if let's say BYU goes 9-4, do they finish the season ranked? Are they right there, or does it need 10-3?
No, I think it's possible. 10-3 isn't automatic with this schedule. But at 9, it depends on who those losses are against and when. You know how that goes. And so if you are 2-2 in September, people are going to go, wow, that was very good in September, right? And then maybe you lose one more down the stretch, and that one more is Missouri on the road. And Missouri's really good. So all of a sudden you got 9 wins and you're ranked then, because it's the quality of the losses, especially if a couple of them were early on. If you go out and you lose games late in the season against teams that you're just supposed to beat, because maybe you're beat down or you've been injury prone at that point and you're shorthanded, now you're even with that number of wins, if those losses are against bad teams and you don't have a chance to kind of overcome that with time by losing games early. Now I don't think you are ranked with 9. I think you've got a problem at that point. Depends on who you lose to and when you lose if you're going to be ranked with 9.
And you're probably getting ranked late in the season. It'd be nice to have some mid-season relevance. But here's what I think we've come up with based on the discussion between the 3 of us. That 8 wins for BYU would be, okay, look, that was really tough, and that's a pretty good result. 9 would be, okay, probably exceeded expectations from sports books, from Phil Steele on expectations, from my expectations. Probably getting ranked. And then 10 is like, whoa.
I'm telling you, if Taysom stays healthy, I think BYU wins 10 games.
I'm assuming health for Taysom on my 8 projection.
Blaine, where are you on? Okay, let's transition now to the latest Big 12 conference nonsense.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
Okay. Sure enough, during the Media Day madness yesterday, the president of Oklahoma says, we need to get back to 12 teams. I want to expand. And at the top of the list again for another day is BYU being discussed as a Big 12 member. What is your raw reaction to hearing that news once again?
First off, when I heard it, I thought, okay, it's not big news if Kansas's guy says that, right? So it has to be Oklahoma or Texas that make that comment for it to be nationally relevant. So who it was important. This is one of the big 2 that have a great tradition and have a lot of clout in terms of their influence in that league. So when I heard that it was Oklahoma that was making this comment, I thought, okay, well, this has merit now, and this is good news for BYU that discussion is back on the table. And believe me, Oklahoma's not going to come out and make that kind of a statement unless there's some discussions going on behind the scenes about whether or not they need to expand. So my feeling is that was very, very good news for BYU, that one of the power brokers in that league all of a sudden has brought that back and put it back on the table. And so now for BYU, they have to win games and be relevant for them to consider them for being that number 1 team and to continue to be in that spot.
Blaine Fowler, the elite businessman, analyst, and BYU proponent. Always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for the insight.
All right, guys. How many beeps did we have today, just out of curiosity, because that's what he always talks about?
1.
That's pretty good.
1 beat, yes. That's got to be some type
It's like
of
a
record.
10-win
I love
season.
It.
Yeah, that's a 10-win season, Blaine.
That's 1 beat is an elite performance by this phone.
No. Elite is none.
Okay, elite is none. So we're going to say this was an excellent performance by my phone and by your system.
Really
we have
good.
to have no
Very
beats
good.
for it to be considered elite and be nationally ranked in the top 5. So this was just kind of a top 15 performance.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
All right,
We'll
very
take
good.
that. Thanks, Blaine.
All right, guys, thanks.